Okay, so should you do a master's after university? So obviously with university you've got like a 3 year course, and a lot of people at the end of that decide to go and do a master's. And I can only talk as someone who has been through the education system and is now employed full time, right? I'm still relatively young, but my perspective is, for most cases, it's a bad idea to do a master's, and I'll explain why. So, why do most people do masters? Well, I think the first thing to think about is just university as a whole, because I think before you really examine whether you should do a masters, you should examine kind of whether you should have gone to university and like why, what's the sort of setup with university. And I do think university is a really strange setup, and I can't believe it really works like this, but it just does. You know, I think a good way to look at uni really, for most people, is it's a sort of anaesthetic for purpose and direction. You know, it's kind of weird. Like, I remember First Man saying this, that university, like, you go there, you're not being that productive, let's face it. Even those people who are doing STEM subjects, like, I've hung out with a lot of them, they're not as productive as they say they are, right? But you're at university, you're not being very productive, and you're doing cocaine every weekend, you know, you're getting pissed, whatever. And yet everyone's kind of proud of you. It's really weird. Meanwhile, you could be sort of working on a business at the same age, and everyone thinks you're a loser. It's so weird how society just really rewards people to go to university. And it's kind of, you know, you can see why you reach the end of university, and you're kind of reluctant to give that up. You're kind of reluctant to suddenly have to actually work to earn a living and to derive a sense of purpose and whatever, get a sense of status in society, when you could just do another year of exactly what you've already done and, you know, get another student loan and whatever, just not have to worry about it for another year. You know, it's easy to see why people are very reluctant to sort of hand that in, you know. And there are good reasons. There is like a case to be made for doing a masters, right? I guess the case to be made is that you leave university with a qualification, but if you specialise in it a little bit more, it just sets you apart just a little bit more from your competitors. So let's say you're studying history. If you then do a masters in international relations, it gives you a little bit of an edge compared to your competitors. And yeah, so like that is the case that can be made for it. The trouble is that I feel like most people don't really do a masters for that reason. I feel like most people, if we're being honest, they do a masters because, like I say, they're just unwilling to sort of hand in this free gift that's just been given to them by society, of like just basically chilling for a year of your life, and everyone thinks you're doing something productive, and you still kind of derive some benefit from doing it anyway. So yeah, that's kind of the setup. But I wanna really sort of give you like the other sides of doing masters. So I think the trouble of doing masters is that, first of all, it's a long time. Like, I don't know, you know, I don't know how else to say it, but like, in a sense, you don't want to be negative. You don't want to say like, oh, you know, your time's running out, whatever, because I don't think that's really where, you know, you really empower people. But the truth is, a year of your life doing a master's without, if that doesn't come with like a real intention, like I say, like you need it for a job you're doing or something like that, you know, if you're just doing it because you want another year at university, like that's a big chunk of your life. You know, 1 year. Let's say you live to 83, you know, which is the average life expectancy. You know, that's such a long time, and like spending that time when you're in your 20s, when you're like at the peak physical, mental health, whatever, peak capacity to be like your best, you're just going to spend another bit not really working towards anything. Yeah, it's a long time. And the other thing is you're just pushing away a decision that you're going to make anyway. And you're not really going to make any better of a decision for another year of studying at university, which you've done already. You know, it's not really going to teach you anything that you don't already know about what you want to do. And even if it did, it's still better to spend that time in a job that isn't really very good than, or like doesn't really align to your goals. It's better to get that out of the way now than to spend another year at university and then then make the decision. You get what I mean? Because I remember finishing my exams in third year and I remember very clearly like submitting my dissertation, and I went for a walk afterwards, just around Manchester, and like there was some green sort of spaces near where I lived, and I just went for a walk around it, and I actually remember recording a video on this channel like about exactly a year ago, about this very topic, and I remember saying at the time like I had a real sense of existential dread at the time because I'd finished these exams, and all of a sudden like I was confronted with this thing of like I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, and it was quite scary and quite sort of overpowering, and like I can easily see how you can get quite depressed at that point. But what I recognised was that like there's no way out of this, and in a sense, if I do a master's now, obviously I was too late at that point, but maybe I could get a master's through clearing, but in a sense like I didn't regret not doing a master's, cause, even though I was feeling this way, because I just knew that one way or another I was going to feel this feeling of lack of purpose after university, and I could do it after 3 years or after 4 years, but the feeling was still the same, so I might as well just feel it now. And so I just tried to kind of, and this sounds very hippie, but just kind of lean into that fear and that pain. And I did. And it's funny, I'm at a stage now where like I actually know where my direction is. Like I know what I want out of life. And the only reason I've done that is because like I've had to go and get a job and try stuff out. After university, like I worked in sales for a bit, and now I'm working in tax, and now like I've got a clear idea of like where I'm headed and what it's all for. And I wouldn't have had that if it was this time last year and I'd just stayed at university. Maybe I'd have 1% more of an idea, but fundamentally I wouldn't have had to deal with it. And that's the thing. Until, especially like the male psychology, I think until you have to deal with something in life, you just don't. So I just realised like I'm not gonna really give myself a direction. I'm not gonna answer these questions for myself until I have to, until I force myself to. So I might as well just force myself to do it now, And like I talked to a lot of people who did masters at the end of university, and like they were just in the exact same situation. They got to the end of their masters and they had the same existential dread, and they had to find a job and whatever. And it's like you didn't gain anything except, you just lost a year just doing more of the same stuff. And the other thing is like, what looks better to a prospective employer? Is it someone who's done a master's, which it does differentiate you a bit, or is it someone who's spent a year doing lots of jobs, actually getting some experience, getting some sweat into the workplace, and like they've actually, with that experience, they've really found like an idea of what they want to do, and they're very clear about it, and they can talk about their past experiences at work. Everyone in my generation always complains about how, you need so much experience to get a job, and then they'll literally do a master's instead of get a job after university, and it's like, you're right. People do want people with experience, so like just get out there and do something, I think the caveat with this is like, you don't have to like have like a really firm idea of what job you get into after university. You know, the sales job I got after university, it wasn't a job I was going to do forever. This tax job is not a job that I'm going to do forever. It's a very specific thing to, you know, get me towards my goals, what I'm working towards. You know, what am I working towards? Okay, well, you know, I've got another YouTube channel. I'm doing some vlogs. In fact, I'll show you. I've got a list of vlogs right up here of like places I want to go to. These are all vlogs. These are all YouTube videos that I'm going to make at some point. You know, I have a clarity of purpose about doing that. I didn't have that at the beginning of university. I want to grow this YouTube channel more. I want to get to the point where I'm basically like making online income, and I'm running a business. You know, that's a clear image I've got in my head, and I didn't have that at this point last year. You know, I was forming the, I was forming these ideas in my head, but it's much clearer now. I think part of that is because I've just thrown myself into something and giving it a try and see what's worked and like what I've learned from it and stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, that's really my recommendation. I think unless you have a really clear goal in mind, like, I don't know, you want to be, that's the thing, I can't even think of an example, but like, if you want to be a journalist and you studied history and no one's going to accept you to be a journalist without a master's in journalism, then go and do a master's, whatever. But, you know, apart from that, I really just think you're throwing away a year of your life, and it's much better doing that, like spending that year just trying something, even if it's just some shit job. Just get some sweat in the game. You know, just try something. Just get some points, some sort of idea of like what you like and what you don't like. You know, and try that for like 6 months, and then like see where you are. You know, that I feel like you can learn more in 6 months at a job than anything else. Than like a year doing just another year at university. You'll learn so much more, about double the ROI minimum. And for the people who say like, oh, you know, but I can't get a job without masters. Yes, you can. Like, I think it's funny because at the end of the day, like, university's business. You know, they want people to stay on and do a master's and whatever. So they're gonna make it seem like you really need a master's to get a job. But realistically, I don't think you do. I do agree the job market's very difficult at the moment. You know, but I think really, if you're worried about getting a job, if that's what like is making you think about getting a master's, it's just the fact that you're worried about not getting a job. I honestly think it's better just to work on like charisma and your ability to interview, because the truth is, if you give a good interview, they don't care what qualifications you have. You know, if you just turn up on time and you've got good charisma and you listen to what they say and you interview well, that's like, who gives a fuck what you've done for a master's? You know, that's so much more important. So yeah, that's what I think anyway, guys. But yeah, sorry if you've watched the way through and you've done a master's and, you know, I've kind of destroyed your worldview. But you know, this is YouTube. What can I say? It's a weird kind of environment. But yeah, I mean, if you think I'm wrong, please do drop a comment. Let me know what you think. It would be, maybe we'll get a really interesting discussion going. But apart from that, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. If you click the top link in this video though, I'm doing some one-on-one coaching at the moment. If you think you'd be a good fit, book a free session with me and we can have a chat, get you some goals and stuff like that, get you accountable. But yeah, apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next one.